Ah shit, can you smell what this podcast is cooking? Welcome to the Top 5 Saturdays Live podcast, and on this week's episode, we take a look at Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and his filmography, which is only going to grow by 20 more films by the end of the year. What will Brian and I choose for our top 5 list? Well, come on, listen to the show and you'll find out, essentially. Okay, can you dig it, sucker? Oh, fuck, that was Booker T. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Top 5 Saturdays Live with me, Chase Lee, and my co-host,
Ryan Sutfield.
That's fucking right. And hey, listen, if you're new to the show, welcome. What we do on this podcast is we take a look at, an actor, actress, director, what have you, and we'll make a top 5 list according to that. And we correlate with the movies coming out on the weekend. So we'll pick a movie from said weekend, and we'll be like, all right, who have we not touched yet? Who have we not fondled yet and thrown up all over the internet? Oh, that's who we haven't fondled yet? Let's do you. So that's what we do. And the cool thing about this show is that it's live, so we have no idea what the hell's going to come out of our stinky face holes. And then, of course, we don't know each other's lists, which makes it all the more fun. Brian, how are we doing this week?
I'm good. I'm glad to be home for the weekend. It's Easter weekend, so I'm excited to be home, and I'm doing very, very well. How are you, Chase?
Oh, just another week in paradise. Let's see. What have I done? Oh, the first 2 days this week, this is no joke, I binged watched 13 Reasons Why, and I finished up Iron Fist, and I can tell you, one of them is better than the other. But, it's a pretty decent week, I guess. I saw Fate of the Furious today, and Colossal, very weird double feature, might I add. It's been going. So, yeah, just another week. But you know what? We decided to crank it back this week, if you will. We decided to honor a person who doesn't really have that much personality or that much charisma. We decided to kind of hone back a little bit and kind of, talk about the quieter people in the industry. Brian, who are we talking about this week?
We are talking about the quietest person in the industry for sure, and their name is Dwayne Johnson.
That's right, motherfuckers. It's Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Can you smell what The Rock is cooking? All right.
Finally.
So here's the deal, folks, is that, when Brian and I were thinking about what to do for this week, I was like, you know what? Let's do the man of the hour, man. Let's do the one that's got 20 films coming out this year. Let's do Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Listen, he's done enough films to, I think, where he can justify the making a list. And here's the deal. We're not going to put movies that are like some of the best of all time. It's like it's the best within his career. And, I think it's time, and we might do a Dwayne Johnson revised version one of these days where, 2 years from now he's going to have like 100 movies under his belt. So I'm sure we could redo this list. But for right now, I think it's time to honor the man, which by SNL's joke, he has franchised Viagra. Ever since Fast 5, 2011, up until now, he's just been hitting it hard, hitting the books, and no, he hasn't. He's been hitting the movies, and he's been doing like 1,000 a year. So I'm excited to talk about him. I'm excited to throw out 5 choices of movies and defend them as the best ones of his career. So, Brian, when you think of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, do you get excited? Do you like to see him in action movies? Do you like when he does something different? Like, what do you got? Give it to me.
The Rock now is one of my favorite people ever. Listen, I know the man's not run for president, but if I want an entertainer, an actual entertainer to be president, I would want it to be The Rock. Listen, is he in the best movies ever? No, he's not. But he's so fucking likable. Like, if you watch him in any of his movies, if you watch the show Ballers, if you follow him on social media, he has a great personality to him. Like, he's a wonderful human being. And you know what? I want to learn. First of all, I want to learn his workout routine. Second, I want to be best friends with the guy. And third of all, I just, I love the man a lot. He's one of the most likable people in Hollywood today, and I'm excited to honor him for sure. And like I said, he's not in the best movies ever, but you know what? Whatever movie he's in, he's always likable in it. So that's the best thing about Dwayne Johnson when it comes to anything he's in.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Two things. One, if I had muscles the size of his, I would look like a giant humanoid cockroach, and I would look disgusting. Second thing, if I had the as much charisma as this guy, I probably would be at better places in my life than I am now. So I'm jealous of the man. He looks like a good guy to hang out with, and I like the movies that he puts out. Like what Brian said, he's entertaining, and you can't beat that. This is the entertainment industry, and if you can be as entertaining, as charismatic as him, you're gonna bring in the bucks. That's just what he does. So I mean, there's really nothing much more to talk about. I mean, if you guys don't know who he is for some weird reason, he started out with his WWE days as The Rock, and he eventually evolved into movies and whatnot. He's one of the first ones to kind of break through and be successful at it. Now, I'm not saying the other, the WWE wrestlers have not dabbled in movies. I mean, John Cena has, Randy Orton has, Big Show has, Kane has, Triple H has, but they've all been kind of like straight to DVD, kind of like pretty terrible if you ask me. But Dwayne has been the first one to kind of break through as the first like kind of successful one and be as big as he is. Yes, I'm fully well aware that back in the day, wrestlers were doing movies as well, but I'm talking like to what The Rock status is. That's just unheard of. So yeah, and John Cena is probably the next one in line, to be honest with you. I mean, he's got a film coming out this Christmas where he's the main character in terms of voice acting, so it'll be very interesting to see how he's received in that. But until then, until he can actually make a good movie, we're going to honor Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. So let's get this started. I'm really curious to see what Brian has on his list. And speaking of that, Brian, what is your number 5 favorite Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson film of all time so far?
My number 5, I'm going with probably the funniest Peter Berg directed movie, and that is The Rundown.
Okay.
The Rundown, if you guys don't know, The Rock plays a bounty hunter, and his partner in crime is none other than Steve Stifler himself, Sean William Scott. This movie is incredibly entertaining. It's really well done. I think it's one of Peter Berg's most underappreciated films. And now, granted, this guy is starting to become really, really prolific with all the, dramas he's done with Marky Mark, Lone Survivor, Deepwater, and then Patriots Day. And then he's doing another movie with Mark Wahlberg. Like, we get it. You have a great bromance with Marky Mark. Just calm down. But any Hooters, The Rundown is incredibly entertaining. It's really enjoyable to watch. You also get a really awesome performance by Christopher Walken, as usual, with every movie he's in. And let's not forget this. 2003 was an interesting year for him because he was in this, but he also had an incredible, phenomenal performance in the just Oscar-winning film Kangaroo Jack. So, yes, The Rundown is really, really great. I wish it did better at the box office, but I think it's a pretty underappreciated action comedy. I know a lot of people consider it to be one of Peter Berg's best, but it's funny because The Rundown's not only known as The Rundown, it has an alternative title called Welcome to the Jungle, and ironically, that's the name of the upcoming Jumanji movie that The Rock's going to be in. So, yeah, The Rundown, pretty fucking entertaining. If you guys have not seen it, do check it out. It's my number 5.
I am going to pass. Yeah, so, a good pick, though. So my number 5, and here comes the pun, ladies and gentlemen, Fast 5. Now, here's the deal. I have said this since 2001, and I'll say it again. I've been harping on it for the past 16 years. I will stand by it. I don't give a fuck what you say, but you can give me your opinion. It's okay. I think Fast and the Furious is one of the best guilty pleasure franchises in the history of film. It is my favorite guilty pleasure franchise. I love every single installment. Yeah, I even like number 3. I've been a fan since the first one, and I was 11 years old, so it targeted the right age, and I've carried it all the way up until 27. I just think it was just a simple street racing movie that kind of found its footing once it hit number 4, it really kind of started to dive into this like Jason Bourne espionage superhero type of realm where these fucking people are invincible and they're jumping cars through fucking retirement homes and explosions are happening behind them. However, Fast 5 is what many consider to be where it started to jump the shark and really kind of go overboard in terms of its like kind of stunts and action. I agree. This is where it officially found its footing as one of the most over-the-top action type of films you could possibly make. And Fast 5, Dwayne Johnson first appeared in. Now, I already liked the films up until then. But, number 5, it had a different spin on the franchise with the whole heist situation. It added Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, which SNL famously joked in his monologue. He is franchise Viagra. That movie exploded the fuck out of box office numbers. And, from that point on, this franchise has just been growing and growing. And it's not because of Dwayne Johnson, but I will say that adding his involvement in number 5 as Luke Hobbs, it definitely helped. And he's such a badass in the movie. He takes no shit from anyone. He has one of my favorite lines of the year so far in Fate of the Furious. That prison sequence with him and Jason Statham is simply magical. But no, I think he just he adds a unique presence to the franchise. His one-liners are on point. His stunts are really good because he actually performs some or like the majority of his stunts. So it's nice to actually see him get like kind of down and dirty into these movies when he's like either fighting Jason Statham or Vin Diesel. It's quite a miraculous thing to see. So yeah, and it also is kind of creepy because he also kind of looks like my uncle, because my uncle is he's really tan like The Rock, and he's also bald and he has a goatee like The Rock's character in the Fast and Furious franchise. So it always freaks me out. But no, I've always enjoyed just hearing him speak, because everything that pops out of his mouth in that movie is a one-liner. And it's just absolutely glorious. So, and he's actually one of the funniest parts in the newest one. So, yeah, I think just with his involvement alone, and Fast 5 being one of the best, and it is definitely, if I had to rank them, it would definitely be in the top 3. And he is a part of that. And he, just coming into this franchise in the 5th one and just kind of adding that extra oomph to it, just really kind of deserves a spot on my list. To be quite frank with you. So, yeah, Fast 5 is my number 5. That is the only pun I will have for my list. Brian, would you like to pass on this, or what would you like to do with my answer?
I'm going to pass big time on this one.
Oh, shit. Okay. All right, so number 4, B-Suds to the B-Money to the B-Rye. What you got?
Number 4, I'm going with one of the guilty pleasures of mine from 2015, and that is San Andreas.
Okay, that one's not on my list, but I will tell you that I did not see it in theaters, but I watched it when HBO put it on their streaming platform, and I liked it. It was really fun. I couldn't put it on my list, but I really enjoy it. I respect the answer, but anyways, defend your answer, sir.
Yes, I have a hard-on for disaster movies. I will be honest with you with that. When it has The Rock in it, automatically it's a yes. When it has Carl Gugino, one of the most gorgeous women on the planet, yes. And then Alexander Daddario, yes. And then Paul Giamatti, the greatest actor of all time. Listen, before I record this with Chase, I was watching Big Fat Liar for the 20,000th time.
Yeah.
And that movie is a fucking masterpiece. I don't care what any of you say. That movie is absolutely fantastic. So,
I love it.
Moving on.
It's such a great kids film. Like, it really, it's a good kid family film. And it's one of the last ones I've ever seen like play in theaters where it can play to adults and kids and kind of have like that middle humor where like everyone can enjoy it. It's amazing.
Yeah, totally. I agree with you on that. And if we ever do a Paul Giamatti episode,
expect that to be on there.
That's going to be in the top 5 for sure. Anyway, back to San Andreas. This is a really enjoyable movie. I will say the disaster sequences are really, really well done. Yes, is the dialogue bad? Of course it is. Is the directing great? No. But you know what? It's entertaining enough for what it is, and The Rock is pretty fucking good in the movie. He's likable. He plays a a firefighter. I think he's either a cop or something. Like he's in the helicopters and shit. I don't remember. But no, it's really entertaining. It's really enjoyable. I will say that the last act was really, really intense because I had no idea what was going to happen. I remember seeing this in the theater. My audience was like, "Oh hell yeah, Dwayne! Oh oh yeah!" It was great. But no, it's a really enjoyable movie. I remember when it came out on HBO, I watched it a lot because it's a fun time, and I'm glad it did well at the box office and it did serviceable critically. Like it has like a 58%, which is not bad. That's actually pretty good, or pretty serviceable for a movie like this. And there's apparently going to be a sequel coming out. I don't know how I feel about that, but in the end, the movie was really enjoyable. I had fun. The Rock was awesome. He kicked ass. Yeah, San Andreas, my number 4.
Yeah, I thought San Andreas was definitely a very enjoyable, visually appealing disaster film. There was a lot of great visuals in it in terms of the destruction and whatnot. It reminded me a lot of 2012, which is fine. I like that movie for what it is as well. That was actually one of the first Blu-rays I ever got. Yeah, San Andreas, I watched it on streaming. I kind of wish I would have watched it on the big screen, though, because it probably would have been a better experience. But, it is what it is. So, but I will say this. Anytime when Dwayne is in a disaster movie now, I will not wait on it, and I will watch it in theaters. So, good pick, though, but not on my list. So sorry. My number 4, I'm going to go with one from last year, and I'm going to do the critically acclaimed film where he plays a nerd central. I'm just kidding. Moana, I will put on there. You know what's really, really awesome about Dwayne Johnson? He's really good at voice acting. He really is. And I don't think Moana is going to go down as one of my favorite Disney movies. It wasn't even my favorite anime movie last year. However, one of the reasons that I liked it a lot is because of his voice acting. The character of Maui, what's really interesting is that when you hear Dwayne Johnson's voice, you can automatically be taken out of the movie because it's Dwayne Johnson, because he's such a big personality, right? But that big personality actually fit the character of Maui. He was this larger-than-life, literally because he was a pretty big dude, a larger-than-life character who had very confident personality. He was very fast. He was very funny. And yeah, he's not a perfect singer, but when he did sing, it made it seem more authentic because he's not a singer. And it was just Maui singing and having a good time, tuning or playing his shit, just singing and whatnot. But I really liked his back and forth with the title character of Moana. It was a great friendship, a great back and forth. And like I said, he fit the drawing of that character. The character was just a very large human being, and I just imagine Dwayne Johnson just having so much fun in the recording booth, which always gets me excited when any voice actor gets excited in a recording booth and has fun with their role. Because if you watch an anime movie and the voice acting is not convincing, then half your movie's shot. Because that voice acting is supposed to liven these dead things on screen known as animated characters. And I think he does that with Maui, and I really just kind of enjoyed his energy throughout the entire movie. And, he was soft when he had to be. He was hyper when he had to be. He was very jokey when he had to be, very serious. Like, he could switch it on and off, and he actually had that done very well, and it never seemed like he was trying too hard. It seemed very natural to him. And I know he's done voice work in the past. I was looking up at his filmography, and I totally forgot he did a voice in that very, very forgettable movie, Planet 51. You guys remember that? But I think this is the start of what could possibly be a really great voice acting career for him. So I want to see more from him in terms of animation. But I thought he actually was a great supporting character last year. So that is my number 4 pick. Brian, what say you?
2 things. 1, I'm going to pass on Moana. And 2, in Planet 51, and this is crazy to believe, he voiced a white guy.
Oh.
Let's not forget that. Moving on.
Well, racism, folks. I'm just kidding. I did not know that. That's interesting. That was also back when he had hair. Yeah, that's interesting. So you passed on these two, so I'm wondering if they're your top two. Interesting. All right, so what is your number 3 then?
My number 3 is probably the film that showcased that he could actually act, and that's Snitch.
Full disclosure, I have not seen any of his kind of like B-rated dramatic action films, whether it be Faster, Snitch, all that shit. I haven't seen it. I apologize. So yeah, I have not seen Snitch. So convince me and convince our beautiful listeners out there why Snitch is one of the best so far.
Sure. To me, this is the film that showcased his best performance, period. What happens is, without spoiling too much, he plays a father. He goes undercover for the DEA, and his son gets in prison after being accused of a drug deal, or being set up. He got set up to do a drug deal, and it's actually, I remember seeing the trailer, and I'm like, this looks pretty dumb, and I went to go see this with my dad when it came out 4 years ago, and it was actually really compelling. It was really good because The Rock, you could tell that The Rock was a protective father. This is basically somewhat his version of Taken, but you know what? Every movie now of a father trying to go protect their son or daughter is Taken. That's the truth. That's what happens. I'm sorry. That's how it is now. But this was really good. It was compelling. It was engaging. It was fun. It was enthralling. It was unpredictable. I had a really good time of it. And you got really good supporting performances from John Berthal, Susan Sarandon, Barry Pepper. It's a really good movie, and I thought it should have done a little better when it came out, but it was a cheap movie. It only cost $15 million to make, and it grossed like $58 million. So that's pretty good for a February B-rated thriller. So yeah, it's not the best movie ever, but it was really interesting. I had a good time with it, and yeah, Snitch is my number 3. And also, 2013 was probably it's still probably his biggest year because I think he did 5 movies that year. He did this, he did G.I. Joe, he did Pain and Gain, he did Fast and Furious 6, and then he did some movie called Empire State. So that was 5 movies in 1 year, which is absolutely insane. So yeah, Snitch is my number 3.
Yeah, I remember when Snitch came out because that was a huge year, like you said, for him. It's just I skipped that one, I skipped Faster and all those other kind of smaller, B-rated movies and whatnot. But I believe that this man will win an Oscar someday. Not for lead performance, but I believe he'll win something for maybe like a supporting performance later down the road when he grows as an actor. I mean, he's getting there for sure. But with films like a Snitch, it sounds like he's on the right path. And I'm excited to see him get up there in a tuxedo that's way too small for his body, to get up there to accept an award, give a speech. It's going to be magical. But it'll be later down the line. But for right now, he's having fun and just getting that money, son. All right. My number 3. I mean, you could argue this is not his movie. But you know what? Fuck it. He has one of the best openings of any comedy I've ever seen. I'm going with The Other Guys.
Yes.
I don't give a shit if he's only in there for 10, 15 minutes. Spoiler alert, but that movie's been out for 7 years. I've seen the movie a lot of times, and I can tell you every single time, even up into the break after Dwayne Johnson and Samuel L. Jackson are away from the movie, like that whole first bit is so goddamn funny because they are so cocky and they just think they can do no wrong. And I rewatched it to get on the plane, by the way, when I went to go see my girlfriend last. I did not know this, but fucking Samuel L. Jackson, he's cruising around in a car, right? Doing as much destruction as he can throughout the city. He fucking rolls his car into a Trump Tower and it explodes. And it's one of the most magical things that just made my soul just super happy. But besides that, but it's also a very funny shot as well, because it's just this car rolling into bad guys shooting guns as he's shooting his gun out the window, and then the fucking building explodes, and then Dwayne Johnson doing some crazy shit, and the way they go out in the movie is one of the funniest cuts I've seen in a comedy. When I first saw it in theaters, I was like, what are these guys gonna do? And then they do what they do, and then
there goes my hero.
He's like, you want to? he looks at him. He's like, "You want to? We're gonna aim for the bushes, yeah, or something like that." I'm not gonna spoil it. I'm tiptoeing around because I want you to experience it. But I'm just saying, him and Samuel L. Jackson's back and forth. They need to do a fucking movie again pronto. I don't give a shit if it's another cop movie. I don't give a shit if it's another comedy. I want something else with them in it. But them playing the cocky cops, doing the city destruction, and then they're getting praised as heroes. And it's like the overblown imagination of what some people think cops actually do and whatnot versus what they actually do, which is what Will Ferrell and Marky Mark do in the movie, which is paperwork. Yeah, it's one of the funniest openings to a comedy, bar none. And I rewatched it on the plane. It still holds up. And I know it's not his movie. I know it's not Samuel L. Jackson's movie, but he's a part of it. And he opens up the movie with a bang, literally. And it totally pays off because it sets the tone for the rest of the movie. So the other guys is my number 3. I don't give a shit if he's only in there for 2 minutes or 15 minutes. He starts the movie and he sets the tone. There you go. Brian, what do you have to say?
I love the other guys. I think it's one of the most underappreciated comedies of this decade so far. Yes, the introduction with Dwayne Johnson and Samuel Jackson is absolutely incredible. You know, they're so great together for the time they have together in this movie. And yes, they begin the movie. They are the first 2 characters you see in the movie. Like that's not a spoiler. And then when they leave the movie, it's honestly wonderful. And their exit is just—it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
Because it was unexpected. Because
when I
was watching the movie, I was like, "Wait a minute! I didn't even know these two were in the movie." And then they keep going, and then they switch over. And I'm like, "Wow, that was a great misdirect." Because I had no fucking clue they were even in it when I was watching it. So that was a nice surprise.
Yeah, it absolutely was. And you know, these two, I agree, they gotta work together again. I mean, I was kind of thinking of that when watching the trailer for The Hitman's Bodyguard, which, spoiler alert, looks fantastic. I was kind of hoping that Samuel Jackson would play the same character. He does. And then you replace Ryan Reynolds with Dwayne Johnson, but I can't do that because the movie just looks so perfect. But, yeah, they gotta do something together again. The other guys is fantastic. And I originally had it on the list, but I kind of wanted to give a shout-out to The Rundown. So, yeah. Yep. Yeah, other guys, fantastic choice.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, and I will say this. A lot of people kind of brush it aside as the weaker Adam McKay comedy because people love the, Anchorman, Talladega, or Step Brothers more. I get it, but I still think the other guys is pretty funny. And the whole bit with, I don't care if I ruin this bit because, like I said, the movie's 7 years old. But Eva Mendes is in the movie, and she plays Will Ferrell's wife. And so Will Ferrell throughout the entire movie goes, like, you're trying too hard, you're not that pretty and stuff, and he's just downplaying her. And I know you're not supposed to do that because it's pretty fucking mean, but he does it in a playful way to where like I laugh every single time because Mark Wahlberg is like, are you're fucking with him? You're with him. You're with him type of deal. Like it's hilarious because like the first time when he meets her, he's like, I'm sorry, who are you? I'm his wife. No. Oh, who are you? Like, it's like he still doesn't believe like he's his wife. And then there's right after they leave the dinner, I'm gonna ruin it because it's hard to do it over audio, but they're saying goodbye, right? And Will Ferrell's like, bye Terry, and he's like, bye Sheila, and he's like, no, Terry, I'll see you at work. He's like, bye, Sheila. He keeps saying goodbye to his wife and like keep hugging her and stuff. It's
go back inside, Alan. Bye, Sheila.
Bye, Sheila. Go back inside. I watched it on the plane and I was probably disturbing some people because I was laughing so hard at that whole dinner scene. It's so great. But yeah, if you guys have not seen that other guys, a lot of people, like I say, write it off as the weaker Adam McKay comedy. I still think it's a funny movie. If I had to rank them, I guess it would be 3 or 4 out of the comedies he has made. Or, I forgot about Anchorman 2. Sorry about that. It's actually above Anchorman 2. I think Anchorman 2 is probably his weakest, even though I like it. And then I probably do Anchorman number 1 as my number 1, then Step Brothers, then Talladega. So, but yeah, otherwise is still You should check it out for sure. I still think it's enjoyable for what it is, and plus, it's got a nice Michael Keaton in it. Come on, who doesn't like Michael Keaton? So, all right, so moving on to number 2, Brian. Now, here's the deal, folks, is that he's passed on 2 of them. So, spoiler alert: Brian's got Moana and Fast 5 in there somewhere. I'm gonna say, since Brian's an action junkie, he's got Fast 5 as his number 1. So I'm going to say, Brian, your number 2 is actually the one where that fucking stupid chicken is in the movie.
You are absolutely correct. The movie with the stupid chicken, a.k.a. Moana. Moana, if you're nasty. Moana was fucking fantastic. I saw it opening night with my friends. This was the day before Thanksgiving. We all had just come back for college for the Thanksgiving weekend, and we went to like an 11 o'clock showing, and it was pretty fucking wonderful. There was no one there except for us. Like I said, it's wonderful. This movie had really amazing animation. The songs were fantastic. It was definitely one of the better anime films of last year. Not my favorite anime film of the year, but it was really fucking solid. Obviously, the girl, whose name I'm not going to pronounce, she was great as Moana, but Dwayne Johnson crushed his Maui. And, it's just him as an animated character, and that's a given fact. You're Welcome was a great sequence, and I wish that song got nominated for the Oscar, because, personally, I would have wanted to see The Rock perform on stage at the Oscars, but I know that he's not really the best singer, but I thought he sang pretty good. The character of Maui was really, really interesting. I also thought it was an engaging character, and, he was funny. He was really awesome. But Moana was just fun. It had a great message about hope and power. Great female character. I loved Moana. You said everything I wanted to say. There's not really much to say because, let's be real, everybody has seen this movie. And if you haven't, then I don't know what to say. If you're a Hamilton fan and haven't seen, Moana, considering it's a song written by the man who created that phenomenon known as Hamilton, you need to watch it. Moana is fantastic. I cannot wait to see more of what The Rock does in the animation world. So yeah, Moana's my number 2. There's not really much to say because there really isn't. So yeah, Moana number 2.
Yeah, but I think the most important thing to take away from Moana is that a lot of people, like I said, his personality is so big in Hollywood, it might distract people from watching an animated film, but I actually think if you put him behind the right animated character, he could really kind of service that character respectively and not really overshadow the movie and just be a nice support. Or if he's the main character, be a nice lead. So I do think he's got range as a vocal voice artist. So yeah, I want him to do more. I don't care what it is, but I want him to be more present in animated films, and I hope Disney signed him on for something, like whether it be a Moana sequel or just other movies. Please, Disney, rein him back. Throw a rock at The Rock to get his attention. All right, my number 2. I'm going to go with one that a lot of people don't really talk about, but with Brian with Snitch, this was my first movie where I went, oh, wow, he's got some chops. Let me just turn around in my collection right here. You guys can't see what I'm doing because, this is audio, but I will describe what I'm doing to you. I've turned around, and I'm going to read you off my my little section here. Any Given Sunday, We Are Marshall, Varsity Blues, The Replacements, Friday Night Lights, and there's a little movie with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson called Gridiron Gang.
Haven't seen it, wanted to watch it, just haven't gotten around to watching it. My dad loves that movie.
It's a good film, and like I said, this was the first performance of him where I was like, oh wow, he's got some chops and he can really kind of deliver. He plays this coach that goes to like this penitentiary or whatever for teenagers. He is a coach for the football team that they have going on there. He's got to teach the kids about life. And he's got to motivate them. He's got to teach them life lessons and whatnot. I just think he was the perfect fit for this movie because he looks. It's not a dig on his look, but if you were to tell me that maybe he went to jail for a couple years and came out, I would believe you. He's got his tattoos. He's big and buff. He looks like he's been in jail. So, it's not a dig on him, but he actually fits that character perfectly. He looks like a correctionals officer that would go and teach these kids and whatnot. It fit the right story in the character, and I thought the movie was inspirational. I like football movies, as you can tell from my collection. I think Gridiron Gang is a very underrated one from his career. A lot of people do not talk about it. I might be a little biased because I'm a sucker for football movies, because I think if you can do it correctly, they can be inspirational type of films. The underdogs, like the underdog story is one of my favorite type of storylines there is. Brian has his boxing films. I love football films, and Gridiron Gang is definitely one of those like inspirational ones, because you're dealing with a bunch of troubled teens, and a lot of people make fun of them, kind of write them off, and they really kind of show up and mature throughout the film. That way, when they get to like the big game at the end, they could conquer, and it's all because of Dwayne Johnson's kind of coaching and whatnot. So yeah, I really enjoy it, and a lot of people don't really talk about it. So yeah, I think, just like with Brian with Snitch, this is where I went, oh wow, Dwayne actually has chops when he wants to act. And I after that movie, I got really excited to just kind of see what he would do. And it's been many years later, and according to Brian, Snitch is another one. So he does dabble in it every now and then, but when you can have a director to really kind of pull a great performance out of him, you can kind of get something special. And I think this was definitely the start of something special with Gridiron Gang. So Brian, are you first of all, do you like football movies? And you said you wanted to see this, right?
Yeah, I like football movies a lot, and I do want to check this one out for sure. Sounds pretty interesting, so I will give it a watch when I could find time to watch it for sure.
Yeah, it's like I said, as you can tell from my collection, I do love me some football movies, and that was one of the first ones I remember watching and whatnot. I think it was, let me see. Yeah, I think it was Varsity Blues, Gridiron Gang, and Friday Night Lights that I watched like all back to back, because I came from a big football school. I played football for 2 years in high school before I dropped out and became a full-on band nerd. That's who you're listening to, Band Nerd Lee. Yeah, so football movies are my bread and butter in terms of I said sports. Sports movies. I just got done watching The Waterboy recently, which is another great football movie. So yeah, moving on to Brian's number one, which we already know what it is because he passed on it. So now the question is, Brian, do you even have any clue what my number one is?
Yes, I do have a clue of what your number one is.
Fuck, he was paying attention again. All right, so, God damn it. All right, Brian, why is Fast Five that important to you in his career? And I will tell you guys why I think The Rundown is the most important of his career.
Fast Five, to me, as Chase brought up, I'm a huge action film fanatic, so that right there, that's a given fact. Number two, this was my first introduction to the Fast and Furious franchise.
What?
And three, because I'll tell you why. I was 13 when this came out. I was in 7th grade. I wasn't really the biggest action film fan at the time. And I remember when I saw the trailer for this, I'm like, ugh, this looks dumb. I'll pass. Hey, look, it's The Rock, but it still looks pretty dumb.
Okay, please don't ever say I was in 7th grade, I was 13, when I was 21 when this movie came out. Please don't say that, because I was 11 when the first one came out, so that just shows you how much older I am than Brian is, so I'm going to go cry now. Okay, you can continue now.
Well, oops, I'm sorry. No, but I started hearing good things, and I'm like, okay, I'll go see it, and it was pretty fucking good, and one of the reasons why it was good was because of Dwayne Johnson as Hobbs. Hobbs is a fantastic character, and, it was a great addition to the franchise because when he comes in, you think he's like kind of the villain. But by the end, he's actually a good guy. He was just doing his job from the beginning. And, yeah, I love the character of Hobbs. I love this guy. And, his fight with Dom in the warehouse or whatever it was in 5, that's one of the best fight sequences in any action movie I've ever seen in my life. And I love this character has progressed more. Like, I loved him in 6. I hate that he was underused in 7. Everything with him in 8 was fantastic. Not going to spoil anything, but his first scene in 8 was really fucking incredible. Because you watch it, and it's shot in a particularly interesting way. But then you watch it, and you're like, oh, that's really clever. Yeah, everything Chase said about him in the prison with Jason Statham, it was magical. It was magical.
The first fucking guy he kills, that line he delivers, I will not say it because it just came out, but it had me cracking up so hard. And I saw this early in the morning, so I will say that Dwayne Johnson has definitely one of the best one-liners I've heard of this year so far.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you all the way. And Fast Five, I just think, is a fantastic movie. You know, as a movie itself, it's actually really incredible because, like Chase said, it's different from the first 4 movies because the first 4 focus specifically on street race, and this one is more of a heist movie. There's only one car chase sequence in the movie. One out of like the 2 hour and 15-minute running time. I thought it was a well-balanced movie. I love all the characters once again. Like I said, Hobbs is a great character that was introduced to this franchise because I feel that no one could have played this character as well as The Rock. So, yeah, Fast Five to me is a fantastic movie. It's one of the best action movies of the decade so far, and it's one of the best action movies I've ever seen. And it's my favorite movie that The Rock has done. Not my favorite performance. Actually, no. Yes, my favorite performance, but his best performance is in Snitch. So, yes, Fast Five is my favorite Dwayne Johnson movie of all time so far. So, Chase, go ahead and explain why The Rundown, which is great, is your favorite Dwayne Johnson movie of all time so far.
So, I have to say this before we begin. It was 2011. I lived with 3 dudes in college. Nothing freaky happened, so get your mind on the fucking gutter. One of my friends is a major Fast and Furious junkie, just like me, right? And so, like, the first 4, he's really enjoyed. He hated 5 because there was no street racing. Brian's right. The only street racing in the movie is at the very end when they're carrying the safe downtown. Because the street racing scene in the middle was a fake out. It literally, they started at the beginning of the line, and then it cuts to them winning. So, like, it completely just cuts out like why people like it in the first place, and that's why he hated them. It was like, no, fam, they found their footing. They'd made it something different. It worked. It's good. So stop whining about it. Anyways, The Rundown. 2003. I was 13 years old. You know, and I watched WWE periodically at nights to help me fall asleep when I was going to school as a kid, and I liked watching it for what it was. And I didn't really hear much of this Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson fellow. And, I went to the video store one day because those were around back in the day. I went in there and I saw something that had Stifler on the cover. That's right. Sean William Scott was the one person in this movie to make me watch it. Because in 2003, at this point in time, we have had 3 American Pie films, and American Pie is one of my favorite American comedies. And so I really like Stifler's character, so I was like, oh shit, he's in this action film. What is The Rundown? I rented it, I watched it, and I was like, forget Sean William Scott as much as I love him. Who's this Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson fellow? I love The Rundown so much. It is definitely one of the most underrated in his entire career. I love the frenetic energy of this film. I love the different styles of stunts and violence in this film. It's over the top. It's kind of acrobatic in a way, and it makes it kind of stick out amongst other PG-13 action films. I love the way the movie's shot. Like I said, it's very energetic. It's very hyper. And when we get into the action scenes, like everything, like I said, it feels like it's choreographed, but at the same time, it's so much fun to watch that I didn't even give a shit. Because it's well rehearsed. And, of course, like I said, Dwayne at this time had just started getting out of the WWE, going into films, and this is the first major one he did after... no, he did this one before The Scorpion King. but I think The Mummy 2 was before this. Okay, so he made his appearance in Mummy 2, but this was like his first like kind of lead performance type of movie, and then he did The Scorpion King, and then we realized that maybe that was a mistake, and then he got back on the right track. But as far as this one goes, I love the back and forth between him and Sean William Scott. Wonderful chemistry. You know, Sean William Scott's the, you know, kind of the fast talking, kind of comedic relief guy, and then Dwayne Johnson's the straight man, and it works out. You know, like I said, I love all the action set pieces. It's just a fun movie. Rosario Dawson is also in the movie, and I love her to death. So I think it's just one of those kind of action films you can kind of pop in if you're bored on a Friday night and you want to watch just something really silly and something stupid, but you want to see kind of Dwayne Johnson in his earlier years. Watch this one. I think you'll enjoy it. I don't need to say anymore, but The Rundown is definitely the most important one and definitely the best one because this is the first one to kind of set the stage for him. Now, he, like I said, he kind of fell off the stage when he did The Scorpion King, but when he did this in Walking Tall, pretty much back to back. I like Walking Tall for what it is. It's a fine movie, but it's no Rundown. The Rundown was the first major one he did, and it was a hell of a lot of fun and definitely just kind of showed us into the world, yo, this guy is here to stay, and he's probably going to be one of the best from WWE. And guess what? Now he's the highest paid motherfucking actor on the planet now. So, The Rundown is my number one. So, just to recap, folks, Brian's number 5 is The Rundown. Number 4 is San Andreas. Number 3 is Snitch. Number 2 is Moana. And number 1 is Fast 5. For me, my number 5 is Fast 5. Number 4 is Moana. Number 3 is The Other Guys. Number 2 is Gridiron Gang. And number 1 is The Rundown. But what about you guys? What are some of your favorite Dwayne Johnson films? I know he's not the best thespian in the world, but maybe you can find some fun in his movies. So let me know down below what are some of your favorites. John, I know that you like to comment all the time. Kenny, I know you like to comment all the time. Jaman, you too, sir. Like, you just let me know, guys. I know you guys like to get on the conversation. So, yeah. So, speaking of that, there are many films that this man has done. And to get into some of the honorable mentions, I have written down here. Walking Tall, it's fine for what it is. Get Smart, you know, one of the first kind of comedies he did to kind of get his comedy chops wet a little bit. That sounded gross. Fast 6, like that one quite a bit. Pain and Gain, you know, it's different. It's more of like a dark comedy. San Andreas, you know what? And before I say this one, Fate of the Furious, another great addition, right? I just watched for the very first time, not even joking, Central Intelligence like a month ago. It's not bad. You know, it's like a C minus type of film. It's definitely different from what all the other characters he's played, so it's whatever. So that's my honorable mentions. Brian, what say you?
My honorable mentions include the other Fast and Furious movies, so Fast and Furious 6, Furious 7, and Fate of the Furious. The Other Guys, Get Smart, and you know, I'll be honest, I somewhat forgot he made this movie, but I didn't mind the Hercules movie he did with Brett Ratner.
Nah.
I didn't mind it. It was okay at best. It was okay.
Nah.
It was fine.
Nah.
It wasn't bad.
Nah.
It was better than Legend of Hercules, and that's it. The end. Case closed.
Okay, well, I never saw that one, but I saw clips of it, and yeah, the whole movie of Hercules looked better than that, so.
Yeah. Oh, and to echo Central Intelligence, I agree with you. It's okay at best. It's not bad. I mean, his chemistry with Kevin Hart is fantastic, but, like, it's nothing special. So, yeah, C, I think I gave it a C when I saw it, so, yeah. That's it.
Oh, okay. So, as far as dishonorable mentions, I gotta be frank with you. I've never seen most of his bad movies, and that includes The Scorpion King, which I've heard is pretty bad. I've also heard, I heard Be Cool is not that bad, or I heard it was pretty bad. Didn't see it. I guess if you want to say, like, I mean, it's pretty bad. I would say more of just a disappointment for me. I'll get to it in just a second, but I hear Southland Tales is pretty bad. I heard the game plan was pretty bad. I heard the Tooth Fairy was pretty bad. Once again, I never watched these. Race to Witch Mountain I heard was pretty bad. I never watched these because I stayed away from them, and I'm glad I did for sure. But this is the one I will bring up because I enjoyed playing the game a lot as a kid, and I just thought the movie, it was pretty bad looking back on it now. And I just thought it was a major disappointment for what they could have done. It was Doom, and I just... It's one of those video game adaptations where, like, I can probably think of worse ones, you know, like the Resident Evil films or whatnot, but at the same time, like, when you watch it as a 13-year-old that's never seen an R-rated movie before, some of it's kind of cool. Like, the first-person shooter mode doesn't really make sense throughout the, you know, other parts of the movie. It's just kind of there, but, like, it's just they could have done so much better with it, make it more of a horror film instead of an action film, and it didn't work. They could have literally made it like an Alien movie. I would have rather appreciated if they did like an Alien ripoff than this weirdo like action movie that was like brightly lit and it wasn't even remotely terrifying or had any type of atmosphere or moods. Not the worst one I've seen from him, but definitely the most disappointing thing I've seen from him. For sure, and I saw that in theaters too. So, Brian, what say you? What is the worst one so far from him?
Yeah, the worst that I've seen is definitely Tooth Fairy. That's the worst. I mean, that came out when I was, you know, a little kid, so I obviously watched it. Yeah, you know, I would love for him to keep doing these family movies. I would love for him to keep doing family movies, but just pick, you know, good one. And luckily Moana was good, so, you know, that he did good with that. But like Tooth Fairy, the worst. Doom, I agree, it's not the worst thing ever, but it's not really that great either. Scorpion King is not good. The game plan was not very good. G.I. Joe, he was good in it, but the movie itself was pretty bad.
I never saw that.
Yeah, exactly. It's not worth anything. Plan 51 sucks, and Race to Witch Round sucks. So, you know, he's done mostly good within the last few years, but he's done some bad. And, you know, with everything coming out, I mean, you know, I'm curious to know what the best thing he's going to do that's coming out because, you know, he's got Baywatch coming out next month and then Jumanji coming out at Christmas. I'm excited for Baywatch, but I'm skeptical about it. And Jumanji, I just have to see a trailer and then I'll see what I think of it. So, yeah. That's it with that.
Yeah, if I had to pick one, to be honest with you, I haven't liked any of the Baywatch trailers. I'm actually more curious about the Jumanji kind of reboot sequel, whatever the hell they're going to do with it. Because Jumanji is one of my favorite like movies from my childhood, and you know, rest in peace, Robin Williams. So I'm more curious about that than the Baywatch film. And I'm not saying that you know, the 21 Jump Street formula can't work for other shows, but Chips has failed, and the Baywatch trailers have just not looked funny or appealing to me, so we'll see though. Maybe it'll surprise me. I have no clue. But yeah, so that will do it for honorable mentions and dishonorable mentions. Let me know down below what are some of the worst ones that you do not like, and let me know, because if you're like my co-host of my podcast and hate all the Fast and the Furious films, please let me know down below why you just hate them so much. Why do you hate life? Why do you hate puppies? Why do you hate children? Why do you hate elderly, sick people? And why do you hate the Fast and Furious franchise? You just hate all those precious things in life. What the hell's wrong with you? All right, so, yeah, so let me know down below. Brian, what the fuck are we doing next week?
Next week, a little movie called The Promise comes out, starring Poe Dameron, known as Oscar Isaac, and also it stars former Batman Christian Bale, who we will be honoring next week because we've never honored Christian Bale. He's one of the best actors working today. So yeah, why not? Top 5 Christian Bale films next week.
Brian, I have a proposition for you. I'm doing this live on air, so you can tell me yes or no. Would you want to do 2 episodes next week and do a top 5 documentaries list as well in honor of Born in China?
Huh. That could be cool. That could be interesting. Sure, why not? I'm not the biggest documentary aficionado, but I've come to appreciate them lately. My list may kind of suck, but you know what? Why the hell not?
Let's fucking do it. So we'll throw 2 episodes to you guys next week because we fucking love you all. So yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. We'll do top 5 Christian Bale movies, and we'll do top 5 documentaries as well. I think it'll be a lot of fun, a little diversity, and documentaries are gonna be interesting because, like, I mean, I don't think we've never really kind of touched upon that terrain before, where it's like we're talking about real life subjects and like all that stuff. So it'll be very interesting to see like what appeals to you and what appeals to me, because there's a lot of different types of documentaries out there. So yeah. So then Christian Bale. Hell yeah. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, I can't wait to honor him and have, like, a bunch of Nolan movies on my list. So, I'm excited to do both for sure. So, that should be a lot of fun indeed. Yeah, so that will be next week, guys, for the Top 5 podcast. So, yeah. So, Brian, where can the people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at FilmJunkieBrian and on YouTube at Brian Setfield.
That is right. And you can find me on Twitter at RealChaseLee. Subscribe to the YouTube page for more up-to-date top 5 podcasts. I have a podcast I do on Sundays. Brian also does podcasts, and so check his shit out. All the links in the description will be in the description below. I don't know why I just said that twice. But, yeah, let us know all Dwayne Johnson down in the comments, because I know the same 3 people comment every week. I appreciate that, and I appreciate all of you that listen and don't comment because you still listen. You guys are all badass. We love you all. You guys are the best fucking fans ever. It's the same like 20 people every week, and god damn it, you guys are fucking awesome. So we'll see you guys next week for another episode of Top 5 Saturdays Live. I'm Chase Lee.
And I'm Brian Setfield.
That's fucking right. See you guys next week for a double header. It will be a lot of fun. Peace out, everybody.